Chat, it's cramming time. Just kidding. Not really. But this past week, there was a Reddit AMA that was done on, Reddit. And this thread got made, and it basically compiled all of them together. I've been sick for the last week. If you can't tell, there's still a little bit left in my, like, but I wanted to wait till at least now. Well, one, because I have SPV podcast in 30 minutes, so we're going to try to cram it in a little bit. And two, I didn't want to obviously be reading it when I couldn't read very well, because it would just probably not be a good experience to listen to. So, all right, let's try to get caught up on everything current and hip and current before testing in 30 minutes. If you don't know what this is done, basically, people are going to be responding. So like Alec here is lead hero design, so it does like balance, stuff like that. Let's just go through it. It's not related to season 10 balance changes, but I'm going to ask anyways. Were we secretly testing any new upcoming heroes with the Mirror Watch event? Upcoming heroes? I wouldn't say heroes. My guess would be potential hero changes at best. No secret testing of anything upcoming in the immediate. I always get a little bit, in the immediate, because it's like, did you learn something though? Did something get learned from it? We do look at how these changes play out though, when they become more real and get lots of games. I think the Bastion Ultimate in particular was quite fun, even if very loud, and on the border of technicality, or on the border technically. What does this mean? Border of what? I don't understand. Reinhardt's Frenzy passive was also something we played around with internally, but it was quite hard to communicate effectively. It's always good to see what players get excited about when there are more wacky ideas such as Mirror Watch or April Fools. Some of those could become real down the line. I've always said, and I always will continue to say, Overwatch does a great job with its like content and trying to keep up with like the buzz of every other seasonal hero or shooter game, with making content. The only thing that will ever set Overwatch back more than anything else is its balance. But Mirror Watch was fun. It was cool. It was great. So can't complain. Who is the hardest character to balance and tweak of the 3 roles? I haven't looked. I haven't read any further yet. If I had to pick a hero that's the hardest to balance, the answer it's Sombra. I definitely saw. I read it somewhere. I think already. It's right there. Okay. Probably Sombra due to permanent invisibility. Yeah, I read it. I saw something on Twitter. Permanent invisibility restricting how deadly we can make her, but also because she's a hero that excels with strong team coordination. Pre-read. Listen. Okay, I know it's hard to believe me that I didn't read from here to here. When I do this thing, when I like highlight stuff, I'm actually trying to show you guys where my eyes are following at all times. That's one thing I've gotten pretty good at with streaming is my mouse typically tries to follow what I'm looking at. Yo, here's something that's a little bit maybe off. Permanent invisibility is legitimately like unbalanced, and I'm not saying it like do something to Sombra. I'm saying in any game ever. Like there's like 2 things that are like impossible to kind of balance, and it's like wall hacks, or sorry, 3 things: wall hacks, aimbot, and invisibility. Right? Like the 3 things are kind of impossible because like they don't provide a whole lot of counterplay. Right? The thing with the permanent invisibility is, I mean, they're right. You can't make her very strong because like if you play a hero like Zen, don't get me wrong, I hate Zen, right? Players. Not actually. I do like Zen. I just don't like Discord. I meme a little bit too hard sometimes, I think. If you're playing Zen, you can't have a strong Sombra because like if you're in the back by yourself and you're honest hard scoping in on your Rhine to try to make sure he doesn't explode, and a Sombra pops out of a tree behind you and is like inside your ass, there's literally nothing you can do. Just instantly die, right? How the f is that fair? You know what I mean? My question has always been, why did they go to permanent invisibility? Why didn't they make it, why didn't they keep it like old Sombra way back in the day where it's on a timer? So you have to be kind of smart with it. You just be smart with your invisibility. Like you can only use it for brief periods of time. I always question that decision. There are a handful of other heroes with performance stats that differ greatly from the broader community's perception of them and can create difficulty how we approach balancing them as well. Oh, I'll give you the answer. I know what the answer to this question is. You want to know the answer? Reinhardt. Reinhardt in like if Reinhardt has like a, okay, let me give you like a basic rule of thumb. If Ryan has like a 52% win rate in GM, that means he has like a 58% win rate in like bronze through plat, and is like dominating, like maybe even 60% win rate. Like we're talking dominating, because as the game ages, heroes that have more mechanical difficulties and have more things in their kit should thrive more than a more basic, I have shield, I have hammer, I have stun on ultimate ability characters, but can't just like leave them behind either, you know? So Ryan's a big one. Who else? Reaper's a big one. Low rank versus high rank. High rank, not good. Low rank, very, very bad. Mercy's a good one, where Mercy, like, for example, right now, really bad, high rank, but really good low rank, because you could just heal bot and pump up crazy numbers. Orisa has a pretty low win rate in the middle ranks. She's actually not that good, because they don't know how to play her buttons correctly, but they're still, people just get frustrated fighting a wall. So they feel like it's shit, because they see high-level players, or talk about high-level players playing against Orisa, and how annoying it is and how shit it is. But like once Orisa falls out of meta in high rank play, like Orisa still gets played a lot in lower ranks, and they're already not that good at Orisa, and so like they don't do a whole lot. Orisa's another one of them. That's why you get the random Orisa buffs out of nowhere when Orisa's still good. You ever notice that? Oh, I'll give you one more. Hang on, bonus one. Sojourn. Sojourn plays like absolute shit in your bronze through plats, but once you start hitting masters to GM into top 500 and champion, best hero in the game, and it's kind of not close. So that's a tough one. I know you guys mentioned 2 upcoming DPS hero reworks. Is there any news about how these reworks are progressing and who they'll be for? I think people have pretty decent idea, but official confirmation would be nice. And or what might be arriving. Also, are there any other heroes under construction for potential reworks? The 2 upcoming updates that were mentioned were for Cassidy and Reaper. What? For Cassidy, we started some exploration pre-season 9 for his update. Due to where he was at that time, this update was originally looking at multiple pieces of his kit, but we saw the season 9 changes largely benefited him, so the update was gotten more focused on the magnetic grenade and other quality of life updates. Holy shit. Okay. Because Cass is arguably the best hero in the game right now. Not named... Okay, Sojourn and Cass are kind of interchangeable for the hit scan role, and then you have Tracer too. That's... Okay, let me just finish reading. In season... my brain was just thinking the entire time, and I just got stun locked. In season 11, we are updating Magnetic Grenade, and it will behave closer to old Flashbang. No need for me to think, I guess. No magnetic homing to the target used in the short range, and it will be a slow/hinder of the target. We think that player is a lot better with his kit and removes some of the larger frustrations around Magnetic Grenade. More specifics on all that soon. Oh man, no more walking out of spawn and just going and just like hucking a hinder at the fight as fast as you can. Yeah, Flashbang without the Flashbang sounds a little bit interesting. I guess it depends, because like if you don't remember, Flashbang used to have a really large radius. The circle around it used to be kind of huge. Yeah, that could be kind of annoying. You could just like hinder like 3 people at one time. But at the same time though, I don't know. Would it still do like the big damage that hinder does right now? Because like that seems kind of busted. Like, imagine how easy Junker Queen ult goes poof if it's an actual Flashbang existed. I mean, this will technically do the same thing, though, because, like, Hinder stops Junker Queen ult already, right? So, theoretically, this should still stop Junker Queen ult. But actually, it would be better at stop... Wait a minute, hang on. This would actually be better at stopping Junker Queen ult, because if it behaved like old Flashbang, it goes off almost instantly. While Hinder has that little bit of travel time, and then you also have to hope it sticks. So like if the queen is like started away from you and you can't hinder her right away, you have to wait till like if she starts moving, you can't hinder her, like hindering halfway through is always like a 50-50, because sometimes like the grenade would like go behind her and then chase her and she would just outrun it, right? But if it's instant explosion like old grenade, like you just literally turn off Junker Queen ult instantly, like it'll be super easy to do. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, I'm not gonna lie to you. At that point, just bring back flashbang, but we don't want more CC, so like what the For Reaper, we went fairly wide as well in the beginning, and then started to focus clearly on updating Shadow Step. At the moment, we have something we quite like, but it's actually a large technical change, and we are in the process of planning out the work / seeing what's possible. In the meantime, we may buff Reaper in some non-tank buster ways, as he's lost a lot in his most recent update. I have a question, and I'm not even going to give an opinion on this because it should be blatantly obvious. Why in 5v5 do we have tank buster heroes? I don't get it. What's the point? Hero identity, I guess? Yeah, but it makes no sense. There's no DPS busters or support busters, you know? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. What is the average rank of your playtesters, and what level of inputs do they have in deciding what changes are made in a balance patch? A huge part of our team culture revolves around playtesting, from designers to QA and community management. Everyone has the opportunity to play what we're working on and give open, honest feedback. One of the advantages of this model is that we could get the perspective of a wide range of players from GM1 to Bronze 5. It's been a while since we've taken an official poll on average rank. We have a wide sample that helps prevent tunnel visioning on feedback on specific ranks. I'm not gonna lie, I call bullshit on GM1 nowadays. GM1 is like literally pro players at this point. GM1 is like top 20. I call bullshit on GM1 because I remember some of their playtesters back when Overwatch 2 was launching, and don't get me wrong, they were actually good players and they're cool. They're all cool people. Like, they're really cool people, and I've even sometimes like bumped into a couple of them before. Not very often because like they're West Coast, but I call absolute bullshit. I don't think they're GM1 anymore. I think GM1 in the pre-season 9 system, but not post-season 9. I don't buy that for a second. Two-part question here. Why the inconsistency with dev comments / explanations for balance changes? There have been many changes that have been questionable. Biggest offender was buffing Sojourn in January when she was widely considered the best DPS, that were shipped with zero explanation. Justifying these changes would help a lot with player perception so we can understand these discrepancies. I don't actually believe that's true. I believe this person's not lying. Like, I think they're legitimately trying to say something true and like say that, but I don't think that's how players look at it. I think players actually use that as a weapon 90% of the time, rightfully so. Because if somebody gets buffed randomly, like Sojourn, for example, and if they come out and say, oh, we buffed Sojourn because she's underperforming in some of the metal ranks, so we're trying to like boost up her ability to keep, or her ability to keep charge. And it's like, oh, now we're buffing the game for bad players. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think it's wrong to ask for that. I do think that the reasoning behind it is wrong. I think it's actually more used as a weapon 90% of the time. But regardless, I think it should still be there because they should still justify their changes. I have to ask, what is going on with Symmetra? She was weak, then buffed, then immediately reverted, now silenced. Is she getting reworked? What data shows she needed a nerf? She is super weak and harder to use on ladder, uncoordinated environment by nature, and was only played in OWCS from Malga. Shouldn't be nerfing Malga been enough? We should do a better job about this, especially when it comes to getting the community's visibility on what we're seeing versus the player base may seem to think is best for a hero at any given time. These can differ regularly as certain heroes get power reputations, weaker or stronger than the reality at a given rank. Gotta be careful with this one, Alec. Gotta be careful with this one because like it's starting to get to the point where it's very blatantly obvious that they're making a lot of changes based off of data. And we went down this rabbit hole in Overwatch 1 where in the beginning it was more art, and then as the game went on, it started to be more based on data, on data, on data, on data. And shit went to south so fast. And I think we're kind of getting there now. So, that are hard to shake off. Thanks for the feedback here. We'll make sure on something here, even if it's a simple change. Symmetra kept some of the buffs in that patch. But yes, we hear the feedback of where her current power level is. We may have been a bit overactive to the Mauga compositions popping up during that time frame. He was certainly overtuned, but we wanted to make sure of it. For now, we are in discussion about Symmetra and especially her frontline presence. Believe that it's a place in her kit that we'd like to promote further, whether through her survivability or her beam damage. Oh, lovely. They want to make level 3 beam Symmetra walking at you in a straight line and not dying better. Lovely. That would be great. Why was Smurf detection essentially removed from MMR adjustment, especially for new accounts? GM level players taking 60 plus games to reach their proper ranks ruins so many more games. It feels like climbing in general is artificially slowed down, so people will play more even if they should have reached a higher rank many games ago. Is that true? I tapped in our own Gavin Winter for this part. Here's what he had to say. There haven't been any changes to these systems, but there are edge cases like the example of Gushui that was recently posted in this subreddit where our systems didn't perform the way we'd like. Most players will still be placed appropriately as they transition from quick play to competitive, but unfortunately cases like this have always been possible. Explaining exactly how this happens would make it easier to reproduce, so you'll have to excuse me from not going into intricate detail here. For the second part of your question, we believe we made it slightly too difficult to climb at the highest ranks and are looking to make some adjustments soon. Yeah, there's actually a pretty good amount of rank deflation that's kind of happened recently. It's kind of weird, and I know it's given a lot of people, what's the word? Imposter syndrome, where it's like they think they might be more shit than they actually are, but it's just like the system's kind of changed. Will you ever make pick rates and win rates public? Oh, even after a couple of weeks after the fact, I feel like it would do a lot to help understand why changes are made. Is there a win rate range that you want to keep all the heroes to stay within? Oh, I want to take this one step further. When was the last time they gave people public data on rank distribution? What is the rank distribution in Overwatch now? Because you can count on your fingers and toes how many champion players there are now, and that's the highest rank. So there's no way the curve actually looks good. I think something's up. Something's up. If I had to make a guess, I bet the curve would be scaled closer to silver, gold, more than it used to be gold, plat, diamond. I think it's actually crunched more towards like low silver and low gold. So a good skill curve should look like this, right? Right? This is what a good skill curve should look like. It trails off a little bit far, but I'm not the greatest artist. Forgive me. I have a feeling it looks like this. That's my guess. There aren't any plans to currently shift resources towards supporting something like that. Sites like Overbuff don't have the complete picture, but the data there for win rates is is generally fairly close, which is true. The reason why, though, it's not completely accurate is because of private profiles. It doesn't take into account private profiles. There is some argument against being too transparent with those stats, in that it can create a bit of a feedback loop where you might see player behavior driven by what appears to be the meta in the stats. But that kind of happens already with the general discussion and sentiment around heroes without stats as well. I think that's wrong. I don't agree with that at all. And the reason I don't agree with that is because half the time you can come back and hit us with some invisible, like, well, they were underperforming in this. And it's like, okay, well, let's see it. It's like, well, I don't want to show you because I don't want to influence you. And it's like, yeah, but you're being influenced by it. So I don't want to say it's like talking out of both sides of your mouth, but it's kind of like almost, I don't think it's totally fair. You know what I mean? Because you're also right that there's sentiments around certain heroes, but I don't think those sentiments around certain heroes are totally wrong either. I think they're typically based in some sort of logic or truth. Our target range for hero viability is a win rate between 45 and 55%, unmirrored win rate at master's rank and above. Those individual win rates often can fluctuate by 2 to 3% by day, mostly because heroes tend to have a wider range of win rates per map and we're looking at the global average of those, but also individual player performance isn't consistent. So what happens if players are playing a mirror? You know, like a large percentage of games have Sojourn every game or Cassidy every game. What do? Because like, if they're looking for unmirrored win rates, like, okay, like let's say all of a sudden Symmetra has a 43% win rate. Does Symmetra have a 43% win rate because Symmetra's shit? Or is it because a 43% win rate because they're playing Sojourn Cass and you're playing Sojourn Sim? That's like my concern. I don't know if that totally makes sense, to be honest with you. I'm honestly not a stats guy. This is why I always let the people who are like really good at stats, like Cactus Puppy, always explain the stats to me. Because I'm not that good with numbers anymore. I used to be very good with numbers, and then I got some really bad concussions. And then all of a sudden I really couldn't do it very well. And at least I understand that's a weakness of mine, so I try not to go too hard on it, but yeah. Lower pick rate heroes fluctuate more, and there is less confidence in their win rate being indicative of actual strength. Extremely high pick heroes have a similar problem when looking at unmirrored stats. Okay. In the end, stats require interpretation to understand their context, and that is why they are not the only basis for balance changes, but they are a useful tool to measure the impact of changes patch over patch. I agree, it's not the only tool, but the community only has one tool, and it's like, in a lot of times whenever we don't like a change or we don't think a change is good, it's almost always cited as stats. When Orisa got randomly buffed, or when Mauga got buffed, it was just like, why are you buffing these heroes? Because they're underperforming. Why are they underperforming? Oh, like we have the data. Okay, well then, you know what I mean? What is Hanzo's new job? Is it supposed to take over Pharah's place as the go-to permanently pocketed hero? To explain more in depth, Hanzo used to be a sniper, but the recent changes caused more heroes to require one extra shot to eliminate a target. Considering Hanzo is the slowest shooting primary fire focused DPS, that's I don't think true. He was impacted the most, making him the only primary fire focused DPS who relies on cooldowns to finish off targets, due to the very long time to kill. That's also not true. Assuming full charging the arrows to be able to hit targets past melee range, the three body shots, 2.5 seconds time to kill, 3.25 seconds if a blow is not preloaded, or best case scenarios, one headshot plus one body shot, 1.25 seconds. Okay, I'm not reading the rest of this. I do not care. Time to kill Hanzo's only advantage here is that he deals full damage past 35 meters, but trying to hit anyone 2 to 3 times in a row, even at 35 meters, is next to impossible considering physical cover. Long time to kill projectile time travel. At the same time, Mercy pocketed Hanzo can still one-shot, with the added benefit of now giving 2x bigger arrow hitbox and buff storm arrows. They kind of answer their own question here in the second half, but, you know. Hanzo's still an effective mid-range burst damage hero, even without the one-shots. Post-Season 9, without the projectile size changes, actually saw an increase in Hanzo's performance on the stat side. Where, though? I bet in lower ranks, absolutely. Higher, I'm not sure. I do hear you on a loss of how good the one-shot felt, but an overarching goal of Season 9 was to reduce a lot of those burst damage frustrations for players on the receiving end of it. Armor changes in Season 10 have also benefited to his damage. Still very early, but we are been experimenting with adjusting health pools for some of the more evasive or high damage heroes, which would put them back into the range of a lethal Hanzo headshot. Oh, that's interesting. That's actually very, very interesting. And some of the other heroes combines, or some other hero combos at 225 HP, but while it would bring some interesting texture to heroes' interactions overall, there are a bunch of other problems to solve if we want to go through with it. Yeah, Hanzo kind of just is like a tank buster hero now. It is a little bit sad. Hanzo's a tough spot. But personally, I don't think Hanzo's that bad. But I understand what they're saying. And when a hero loses its entire identity, I've been there. I get it. It's kind of annoying. So, a month later, and considering he's displayed proudly on the Twitter post for the AMA, I got my question. How have you guys felt about the past reworks on Roadhog and the new one for Wrecking Ball? Like what the goals were exactly, your personal thoughts, the community response, and you want to fine-tune them with the post rework. Those things I think most people will be most interested on how you guys felt now that it's been a bit. Alec goes first, or Alec answers this. For the most part, we're relatively happy with the new bases both have been given, but there is still some fine-tuning to be done. Generic. That's just a generic answer, but yeah. I'll start with Wrecking Ball. Our goals were to give him more flexibility with his movement and gauge options, heighten the benefits it gives to his teeth, and he gives some quality of life updates. That's true. I think Ball is actually exceptionally good. And we saw what in OWCS this weekend, like what top tier Ball looks like with like team play stuff, and my goodness, it was disgusting. I think our changes all attempt to address those goals, but one I can think of we can hit a little harder in the future is heightening the benefits that gives his team. We were a little conservative with the adaptive shields change. Overhealth is hyper scary in coordinated environments, so perhaps there's room for more pronounced thorough tuning and actual feedback received in game. I don't disagree, but it is pretty in team environments is strong. It just doesn't work in ladder. Like in ladder, it just never happens. The only way I would be okay with this is if like there was some compensating nerfs, like probably to mines. Mines are kind of crazy right now. Working on some updates there. Overall, though, Wrecking Ball is doing much better after his recent updates, and we believe he has a great base to work with going forward. For Roadhog, aside from the conversations about his current survivability, we plan to hit that soon. There's some things for us to look at concerning the frequency of his combo. For example, his Pigpen begins to go on cooldown when you throw it. So you can pre-place one, it gets destroyed, and then Roadhog already has it ready again. Even though the enemy may think there's a window where the hook is less deadly. That's one discussion we've recently had. Still some work here for us to do in terms of value Pigpen brings outside of combat, brings outside of combo as well, and how they can make those windows of combos less potential less frequent. To be honest with you, as time's gone on, I don't think the Roadhog rework really did anything, to be honest with you. If anything, I still kind of miss the left click, right click combos, like the way it felt. All being in one just kind of feels kind of shitty, at least to me. But yeah, Hog just sucks to play against, and there's not much that can be really done about that. So, are there any nerfs being discussed for Hog to potentially survivability? Times where multiple people are shooting a Hog, and he just walks away while using his breather, seemingly gaining more health than losing health, makes the damage you're doing to him feel pointless and very unfun to play against, especially now that headshots do less damage to him. Yes, we're planning on nerfing his survivability very soon. We're touching Take a Breather and Whole Hog in an upcoming patch, hoping this will go live soon. Okay, so this is the one that actually did end up coming out, where Whole Hog is worse, and his Take a Breather is slightly worse, and Hog is still extremely good. Ladder play-wise. I mean, technically did get played in OWCS, which Hog is one of those heroes that never gets played in team play, but the nerfs didn't really do much, if I'm honest. So, said it before, said it again, send him to the farm. Send him to the farm. Hello. With the recent tank changes, i.e. armor and knockback changes, headshot change, and individual balance changes that were released last week, I am curious, have there been any noticeable immediate shifts in the win rates and pick rates amongst tanks? Has there been any collateral shifts within the DPS and support role because of the recent tank changes? I know that, for instance, the recent armor changes, some heroes have become weaker against tanks, i.e. Tracer and Reaper, true, while others have become significantly less stronger, i.e. Cass and Hanzo. I'm interested in knowing how the team's behind-the-scenes statistics have measured lately. Also, I don't know why they put Cass here. I don't think Cass is weaker. As a result of the recent tank changes, that is it possible for you guys to share it? If not, understandable. Some of this is related to meta happenings or balance changes, but also related to armor headshot, changes for tank, or damage reduction for tanks. From what we see, the biggest winners in terms of performance data in this patch are Ana, Junkrat, Pharah, Roadhog, Sigma, Wrecking Ball, and Zarya. Zarya being on there is very interesting. Sigma, no surprise. Roadhog, no surprise. Wrecking Ball, no surprise. Pharah, no surprise. Junkrat, no surprise. Ana is a slight surprise. Very interesting Ana's on there. Very, very interesting Ana's on there. Meta heroes stayed relatively similar, while a handful saw an increase or a decrease in performance. Bastion, Diva, Mauga, Orisa, and Reaper. How the f*** Mauga see a decrease in performance? Mauga was literally meta at WCS. Mauga is still good, guys. So come on. Bastion for sure. Diva for sure. Orisa, I think, is still sneaky, like playable, but not like good. And Reaper, yeah, for sure. So I'll try to ask some general questions. Feel free to choose one to answer. In February, I noticed that you had received great feedback on the maps after the first hacked mode, but I was wondering when those ideas would be implemented, especially for flashpoints. Personally, I liked Clash mode, but I also wanted to know what kind of results you received that required modifications in your opinion, or have you noticed any optimal results to maintain or imitate for other game modes? Was this from a previous AMA? Is that what they're referencing? These fall outside of hero design, but can talk briefly about the first two questions. Thank you for referencing the speed boost that would potentially come to Flashpoint. Jeez. Took us time to get to these in a good place, but they've been promising in playtests and are on track for later season. And it's important for us that when we add elements like this to a mode, that it no longer brings quality not only brings quality gameplay, but is also communicated well through sound and VFX. Feel good here now. Got a lot of great feedback, but there are some things that the team wish we did better with the Clash preview. Firstly, it showed, it should have showed up more in quick play, so you all got more reps on it and can get a better feel for the flow of the game mode. Secondly, we don't think it was best suited for the open queue in arcade. Agreed. That was my biggest thing, was like it was hard to get a gauge on it, and when you get it in quick play, it felt pretty good, but the arcade one was pretty shit. If we do something like this again, we'll clean that up. With the feedback that we received, we've been investigating how to make the final point more appealing to capture for the attacking team. Many games could result in the attacking team not actually wanting to push into the last point because it wasn't worth the reward, harder to capture, gave up a lot on positioning if you lose. Plenty of iteration happening now to address that particular issue. That is actually super, super interesting, because like I noticed that as well. It's like games always went 5-4, and like sometimes it was just worth giving up a point just to have like the high ground on the middle one, because it always came down to middle at the end, you know? This question had a lot of sub questions, so the poster only put in parts that got answered. Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like a lot of people do that, where they have like a lot of, they try to stuff as many questions into one as they possibly can. Hi there. I think one of the most obvious questions people have on here is what are the plans to balance out Roadhog? With the mid-season tank adjustments, I'm sure the general sentiment is that Hog is an outlier for survivability and damage amongst the tanks, especially since Orisa isn't there to keep him in check now. The headshot damage reduction and his soft rework from before means his survivability is through the roof, and his damage is as high as ever. What are the plans to rein him back in? I will also personally say I don't think the solution is to buff Orisa, rather nerf Hog to keep him in line. Wow, this sounds like a Flats enjoyer. Aside from Hog, I think the tank balance is pretty great right now otherwise. Also, is there going to be something done about the overbearing passiveness of the heroes like Lifeweaver that simultaneously not interact with the enemy team at all, whilst also not providing any offensive utility to his own team? I think for all 9 players in the lobby, it's a pretty miserable experience to have a Lifeweaver on your own team. Dude, flashbacks to the other night trying to playing ranked, and we were literally going to win the game. Like, they had a Roadhog. I walked up, I caged him, we antied him. He was a single HP. They popped Trank, but he was antied. And I was literally, I'm not joking, a single HP, and I got gripped out, and he lived, and we lost the game because of it. Like, great, man. Thanks. I got gripped, like, literally across the entire map, and then we lost. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. I love that. I just hate Lifeweaver. I hate to say it. I know he's not, like, a great character, but I hate getting pulled out all the time. Like, sometimes it saves you, a lot of times it you, and I just don't think a character that should affect your teammates like that should even exist. I don't care if he's weak. I literally don't care. It sucks. The Roadhog question is in a different place, but change is coming soon. For Lifeweaver, one of the discussions we're having right now, actually this week, has been having for a while, is around the friction that comes with switching between his healing and his damage. Giving him more flexibility here would be a great boon to his capability within teamfights. Additionally, we've experimented a lot with his pedal platform. Personally, would love to see that as a more attractive area to stand on as a teammate, whether that is through a buff the platform gives you or something else, but there's a lot learned behavior to work through as allies hop off the platform quite often. So they don't even address the grip. That's terrifying. Oh man. Oh man. 2 Mercy questions. Is the team looking at Mercy at all for any change of small buffs? What is Mercy's pick rate and win rate compared to Season 3? I think she's like really good, below Masters or something. Back in mid-Season 9, the DPS passive, sorry, pick rate or win rate wise, not saying she's good, like clarify. The DPS passive reduce in a dev blog stated Mercy wouldn't see changes at the time and should be more reliable moving forward with that reduction. That nerf was reverted and Mercy stayed the same. The community's been ranking Mercy as a D tier support for a few seasons now, and she's in a weird spot. Oh god, the D tier, the tier list rankings, where people don't like playing against her, with her, or as her anymore. I still find many others still enjoy her most out of all other heroes, but she doesn't play nearly as fun as she used to after the changes have been made to her, mainly nerfs, in the game over the last year. Thanks. 1. I think we're more happy in the 20% DPS passive world than the 15. It cuts through a lot better, helps mitigate the healing more effectively. So Mercy is more worth a look when the world is permanent. Okay, so they're saying like if they're going with a 20% long term, then that's when they'll look at her. There are some questions on how far we can push her movement, and know that one is one of the most requested changes. Mercy is still a picked 3 or 4 support, and even higher on console when you hit the top 500 GM area. Her performance follows a similar trend where she is the top grouping for most ranks and remains above average at the highest ranks. Doesn't mean she won't receive changes, but that's where she is at currently. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'm not really a Mercy player. I just don't think Mercy's very good. And I think this is one of those things where you sit there and you look at stats and it's like, okay, but how many of those GM top 500 games where they popped off and they win and they have a higher pick rate? How many of those people are one tricks? How many of those people pick Mercy because they have a hit scan player on their team? How many times do they pick out because they have like a Sojourn or Ashe or Cass or something like that? And those players are higher end performing players or players that are winning a lot of games playing those heroes. Like, it's kind of like one of those things where I go, I feel like there's more than just the stats tell you on that one because she's such an enabling hero. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to ask this, but is the current balance team confident that they're able to, I guess, fix the biggest problems the tank role has been suffering since Overwatch 2 release? I am specifically talking about the counter swap meta and unhealthy tank designs being allowed to exist, like tank busters and unkillable tanks, Roadhog, Malga, and Orisa. Are we confident that making tanks able to do almost everything is the right thing to do? Are we confident that making the tank fun again for the majority of player base without straight buffs? That we can make the tank fun again without the majority of the player base, for the majority of the player base without straight buffs. The headshot reduction and knockback reduction changes are especially interesting to me because I don't really think that simple number changes will fix how tank feels to play. I don't want to counter swap. I don't want to face unkillable and easy to play tanks. I don't want tank busters. I really love this game, but it feels like as if we're going in the wrong direction while ignoring the biggest problems. Frowny face. At its core, Overwatch is a game designed around being able to swap heroes to gain a tactical advantage or help solve a challenge you may be encountering. That is true. However, Flat's alt account? Shut up. That is true, but it's gone too far. It's gone way too far. It's gone way too far. When Overwatch was designed, the idea was you go Cassidy for Tracer, right? Like you flashbang, you keep the Tracer who's really pesky off your team. Or for Genji, right? Like you stun them out and you have some counterplay, right? But that's not what this is. This is straight up, you pick a hero and it completely stops another character from being able to play the game. Good example is like Sombra versus Ball, right? Good Sombra will just make a Ball have the worst day ever. Really good Balls can make up for it now because he's been buffed a ton, but it happens so often. There was also more things to mitigate those things, and like the amount of impact you get on a single role that's as impactful as the tank role is so much stronger than the rest. Give you a good example. Anti was really good to stop healing, right? And especially tanks where you could kill tanks with it, right? But anti now, you don't have a way to mitigate it, right? Like let's say you're playing Malgo, let's say you're playing Hog, let's say you're playing Orisa, let's say you're playing Ramatra. Those are kind of the big ones, to be honest with you. But things that like you can't sit there and block it, right? And it sucks. You just get hit with a nade for free. There is no way to block it. It doesn't exist. Like they were actually talking about it, like some of the pros were talking about it at OWCS when they were talking about like Korean teams playing Ana, and like they hadn't practiced versus playing the Ana against the Ana comps because they just hadn't been practicing it, and there's no way to block the Ana nade, so they were getting at times. This contributes to keeping the moment-to-moment gameplay experience dynamic, drives hero diversity, and offers a wider range of both strategic gameplay and skill expression and learning when, where, how multiple heroes. And I really want to drive this home. When you sit there and you say, well, this is at its core, this is what Overwatch has always been. Don't forget, your opinion has changed in the last year. Because 2 years ago when Overwatch 2 was announced and was coming out, the team genuinely believed that heroes could go behind the battle pass because most players did not counter swap. They actually just like to play 2 or 3 heroes and they refused to swap at any time. They would not counter swap. That was the way they played the game. And so the way that they believed was that people would not really be affected that much by new heroes coming out and not being unlocked right away because they weren't using the feature to its fullest anyways. Their opinion changed. So if you sit there and you realize your opinion has changed in the last year or two, you can look back and go and look at the current situation or the current problems and go, this is my current opinion. But that doesn't mean it's objectively correct. It's just this way I feel right now. And it's like, that's okay. And you can still go ahead with that. But also to not acknowledge and say, hey, there are problems that we have to figure out. We just are still trying to figure a way to do it with a current setup. It's something that also should be acknowledged. There is a question of how much of an advantage is too much compared to the cost of switching. Ideally, we want counters to be clear and understandable, but soft enough that it's still able to outplay a disadvantaged matchup. That doesn't exist though right now, in most cases. Even in pro play, counter swapping has become a thing. And pro play historically never had counter swapping like that because you typically had an objective in a team comp based around playing a certain way on a certain map and a certain idea. That's like what you wanted to do as a team, and that was what you were rehearsed at, and that's what you were good at, and that's what you were working toward as a goal as a 5-man group. And now countering is actually like worth. It is a team game though, and 1v1 matchups are not the highest priority when assessing the heroes. I think Overwatch 2 is much more 1v1 based than Overwatch 1 was. So, tanks do feel this the most with only 1 per team 5v5 role queue, but all roles do experience the pressure to counter and be countered to an extent. That's kind of nonsense. I have never in my life at least in the current state of the game, like right now, you're not getting counter swapped off Cass. Who the f swaps you off Cass? If I load into a game on DPS and I said I'm gonna play Cass, what hero do you pick to force me off Cass? Hog? Yeah, but picking Hog does not force me off of Cass. Yeah. There pretty much isn't a way you get forced off of Cass. And there's a lot of heroes like that. You don't really get forced off of Sojourn. You get forced off of Widow by like Sombra, sure, yeah. But like most of the time, not really. It's not the same way. And typically one of those hero swaps is so detrimental to taking it that it's not even worth doing. Like the amount of the advantage you would end up getting is so minuscule versus how much of a detriment it is to play that hero on whatever map or against whatever comp. It's not even worth it 90% of the time. We're starting to find a balance between swapping heroes every death, which currently feels too often, and rarely swapping heroes or getting trapped in the mirror matches every game, which quickly leads to fatigue. We've seen a lot of improvements here compared to earlier seasons, but we could be better. Unhealthy and unpopular designs are not necessarily the same thing. Whoa. When designing heroes, we aim to provide a wide range of playstyles, mechanics, and aesthetics for players to enjoy. That's simply not true, actually. I hate to say it, that's simply not true. The way Overwatch has designed heroes for years is they want to introduce new, cool, fun mechanics into the game, and they want things to be unique and have an identity, and they think about how it will impact the game later. There's like a famous Riot dev interview where Riot devs, when they introduce a new mechanic into a game, before they implement it, they think how it's going to affect the rest of the game before they implement it, while Overwatch designers think about how cool and how like fun and how like stylistic they can make the ability, and then think about how it'll affect the game later. They have opposite ways of thinking, where one thinks about the competitive aspect and how it'll affect the game, and one thinks about the hero design aspect, like how cool it is and how much fun it is and how unique it is and how much it brings to the game. Like, that's actually legitimately not true. It's okay if we don't all resonate with everyone broadly. We do our best to make a game as fun as we can for a wide audience. I hate that answer, if I'm completely honest. I hate that answer, but it is what it is. Difference of opinion. whatever. I'm not gonna fight with you on it. But anyways, though, yeah, sorry I didn't finish this Reddit I made before, but I get to finish it now. And yeah, I mean, at least they still do these. At least they're still trying to talk. The problem, my big thing is, listen, man, I'm not on either side of anyone's big arguments, but I do think that it's time you guys got to start talking about some of the bigger questions at some point. Yeah.